Good morning, and welcome to Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. I'm glad you've made the connection and are with us today. I'm Lori Fitz, your host, and the goal of our show is to explore a wide range of topics that challenge us to see ourselves, our community, and the world around us in ways that get us thinking and perhaps connected, inspired or challenged to do just a bit more because we've made that connection. Our topic today is Pathways for Change. We'll be hearing about Liberia Career Pathways. Rick Bernardo is my co-host. Welcome, Rick.
Hi, I am almost awake by now.
Terrific. We're glad you're here, Rick. And we have Kennedy G and Judy Poss in our first segment. Judy Poss is retired in development nonprofit work. She's lovingly referred to as Hector the Connector, which is appropriate because she is who introduced Kennedy G to us. Kennedy G is a multifaceted visionary, global health professional, and ordained minister dedicated to the socioeconomic transformation and human potential. And he is doing this to support Africa in the change of transformation for betterment, as well as completely creating an opportunity for the human potential to be reached. He has had several high-level executive roles across healthcare and nonprofit sectors. He's currently the executive director of the Liberia Career Pathways, which we'll be talking about today. But he's also been an executive director in Chicago for the Chicago Diabetes Project, a former CEO for the Chicago Global Health Alliance, and he's had healthcare leadership, being the vice chair of the Healthcare Federation of Liberia and a member of the West African Healthcare Federation. He's also an author of Generational Shift Mindsets, Break Cycles, Embrace New Ideas for Africa's Future. Welcome, Kennedy.
Thank you.
So glad to have you here.
It is great to be here. Thank you so much, Laurie.
Absolutely. I'm going to go to you, Judy, and I want you to tell me how you met Kennedy and how you made that connection.
Kennedy and I were attend the same church, and he had the misfortune of sitting in my pew. And anyone who does that gets a warm welcome from me. That's probably, and it didn't end there. We began to talk quite a bit, and he wanted to take Larry and my husband Larry and me to lunch. And I said, "Well, Thanksgiving is coming up, Kennedy. Are you going anywhere? Do you have family here?" And he said, "No." I said, "Well, why don't you just come over to our house and have some Thanksgiving dinner with us and our family," which they did, and they brought pie. Oh, baby. Anyway, that then kind of morphed into more, because as we were sitting after Thanksgiving dinner, he started talking to me about his hopes and dreams about Liberia, and I said, well, he wanted me to help him. I said, well, Kennedy, I don't know anybody in Liberia. But I did a little research, and I said, but I have a person that I'm wondering if anybody knows anything, it would be Lori Fitz. Mm-hmm. And so I told him that I would contact you, which I did, and it almost made me weep. I was so excited about it because you were so welcoming and open to hearing more. So there's a number of other things that we've done together, and I can't. The beautiful thing about this is that our church, the more that I understand about this, the more I talk about it, and the more people are willing to listen and are excited about career pathways. So it's a wonderful thing.
Well, as I understand it, the Liberia Career Pathways is an initiative designed to bridge gaps in the nation's education and workforce systems by providing students with career exploration, mentorship, and in-school clubs. It aims to align education with economic needs, and it's focusing very much on healthcare and education. So, Kennedy, I understand that there are 3 mission points for the Liberia Career Pathways. Tell me about those.
Correct. Yes. So I have lived in the U.S. for many years, thanks be to God, among the kind people of Minnesota, the very nice people of Minnesota. And a few years back, I went to volunteer back in Liberia and found that there was a lot of challenges, especially after the long Civil War, and then came the Ebola and everything. So I, without a lot of resources myself, I was thinking, where do I start? And I decided to start among the youth. So We started this program, we called them Community of the Future. It was within the classrooms. And then I did a market research and found that a lot of what the schools are offering are not aligned with what employers are looking for. So then we began to do these career clubs to figure out, to advise these young people what are the profitable, marketable career choices you can make so that your education, after many years, you have a diploma, but nobody is looking for the skill you have.
Mm-hmm.
So we started doing
mismatch.
Well, a mismatch, yeah. So we started doing that, and that's what we've been doing for the last few years. But then we also figure out, God has been good to us. We've been very successful in a lot of the young people stuck with us. We start with 10th graders, and then we go through.
And that was like, right now you start with 10th graders, or when you first started?
We still have our career clubs. Those are in schools. So they start with 10th graders all the way through high school. Outside of school, we go after high school dropouts all the way to first and second year college students, so that we advise them, because they still have a chance to make a good decision, about career, about life, And so we have three groups. There are those who want to go strictly into employment. So we work with them, we work with the employers, and we work with them, and we give them the skill they need to find jobs. So we assign them to get a job. Then we got those who call BYOB, be your own boss. Those are entrepreneurs who want to do their own business. So we give them startup money, and they go ahead and start their own business. Then we got those who want to continue their education. So we give them scholarship to go into vocational school to then sharpen their skills so that they can have a job. So those are the three major areas that we cover. But then we also figure out, since we are finding jobs for these people, for these young people, we need to also do some more research, market research, to see within the Liberian economy what areas within the economy are yet to be developed, and they are employable sectors. So in other words, if this sector is developed, it will provide jobs. And since we're doing healthcare, I found very early on that biomedical equipment in Liberia were very, very lacking. Most of the biomedical equipment they bring to Liberia are second generation. In other words, they are donated by medical hospitals here in the U.S., which is fine. But then you need to have people who can install them, maintain them, and recalibrate them so that they function at the level they were intended to function. And those people were not there. The biomedical technicians are not there. So we will bring equipment, we'll donate equipment, millions of dollars equipment, and then we go back and they are sitting down in the hall, or they are non-functional because, there's no one to fix them, no one to repair them. And you would think that's bad enough, but what is worse is that people get misdiagnosed when the equipment are not properly functioning. And that's really bad. In a poor economy where people have to choose between whether they will buy food or pay for health care or pay for children's tuition, when they take their money and put it in the health care, and then they get
the wrong diagnosis,
and then they are wrongly prescribed, now they are paying for medications and pay for healthcare fee that they don't have.
Didn't give a return on their investment.
Right,
of
exactly.
That limited funds.
So that's how we got on this path to doing this biomedical technician program.
So I just want to make sure that I understand the three areas that you mostly focus on. Empowering students to make informed career decisions.
Right.
Addressing the gaps. Where is it needed? If your degree isn't fitting that, there's a gap there. So figuring out how to make sure the education and the workforce systems dovetail better. And third, you want to get them excited about where they can go for critical growth in Liberia.
Right.
And then you mentioned how interesting that is about there's an issue especially with healthcare and making sure that the equipment and that may be not looked at as in terms of a career potential. People might not even realize there's a career potential there. And I know that you had a question.
Well, I was just listening actively, basically. And I always have questions in my head most of the time. But I was also noticing from my background in teaching ethics that two big things I'm hearing. One is you're focused on what is missing that will make a difference.
Right.
And that is such a great question just to live into. And the other aspect of ethics besides the results we're looking for is our hearts. and our moral character. And none of this would be happening unless both Judy and Kennedy were caring and compassionate people.
So there's some premises that you've built this on. That economic growth depends on making sure you have trained and skilled workforce.
Yes.
Education with real-world application improves the students' persistence. If they see that there's opportunity,
Yes.
they're more likely to be dedicated to it. So many young people, I think, go into it wherever they are in our world
Right.
with kind of a fog as to what happens next. That your citizens need to have equal access to opportunities. Do you want to tell me a little bit about that premise?
Right. So yeah, we want to ensure that when people get education, that there is employment lined up for them, and that the way they can do that is not to misalign themselves with market opportunities. So you don't think, well, I just graduated from school, but I can't find a job. Well, the reason is not because there is no job for you. It's just because you acquire the wrong skill that the market is looking for. So part of having an equal access is to ensure that you are in profitable skill. You are in in the high demand market area line of status, so that when you graduate, there will be people are looking for you.
Yep.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to have a diploma. True. You have a college degree, maybe even a master's degree.
But if they don't need it.
But nobody's looking for you in the market. The employers are not looking for what you have.
I love the idea of the career pathway is looking at your career path. So it's understanding where are the gaps, where do people need jobs, how do you match what you're working on so that you prepare yourself for that job.
Right.
And you're there to support that.
Right. Because the educational systems it was set up many years ago, and they have not worked on realign their curriculum for market need. So the curriculum is still the same. And that's just what we do, so that we can't change the educational system. We don't have that kind of a.
But you can inspire young people to think about what are the careers out there.
Right.
With that, I know that you're also very open to other industries. Right now, you're looking a lot at the health, but there may be other industries as you keep, developing these partnerships, and that ideally you'd like to have partnerships with employers, so that they can see where these students are. Because if you've matched it right. And this is a place that people are needed, they're going to be looking for folks, so that you can kind of be a connector there too.
Yeah, and that's where the connection lies, because we actually work with employers, and they tell us what they're looking for.
Yeah.
So we take that and we use that to advise our, the learners that we work with. And
with that, we're going to give the website, which Rick will give us.
The website is liberiacareerpathways.org.
I encourage you to go to that website and consider making a donation to support this program. They're doing good work, and it's innovative, and it's making a difference. And we'll be right back after we have a few short commercials that will keep supporting the good work of here at AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. Good morning, and welcome to Connections Radio Show. I'm Lori Fitz, your host, and our show is all about talking about ideas that matter, and I'm glad you've joined the conversation. Our topic today is Pathways for Change, and we'll be hearing more about the Liberia Career Pathways. Rick Bernardo is my co-host. Welcome, Rick.
Hi, it's wonderful to hear what's going right in a lot of parts of the world here, and with Liberia Career Pathways.
And Kennedy G is joining us along with some of the board members he's invited to join the conversation. Kennedy is a multifaceted visionary. He's a global health professional and ordained minister dedicated to the socioeconomic transformation and human flourishing of Africa. G has several high-level executive roles across healthcare and nonprofit. He is currently the executive director of the Liberia Career Pathways and leading initiatives for education to workforce development. Welcome. We're so glad you're here, Kennedy.
Thank you. Thank you, Laurie. It's great to be here. And I'm so happy that we have some of my board members and our partner from England, Tim Beacon, to also be on today.
So let's start with your guest, Dr. Wulu. And tell me a little bit about Dr. Wulu.
Dr. Wulu is a civil servant. He's worked for the U.S. government for many years. He's a professor in mathematics. He's a very high-level thinker. He's one of our newest board members, and he is online.
Yes, welcome. We're so glad you're here, Dr. Wulu.
Thank you so very much. I'm glad to be on. Thanks, Laurie, for the invitation to be on your show, your Connections Radio, AM 950.
Yes, AM 950. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes, we're glad you're here. So Liberia's health sector's made a lot of important progress since the Civil War and the Ebola crisis, but it continues to face serious challenges. Share with us what you see are some of those challenges.
Well, first of all, let me start by saying, how I got into this LCP,
Sure.
Liberia Career Pathways. Very briefly, the LCP is a forward-thinking and workforce development initiative that's focused on empowering learners and aligning education with real-world job opportunities in Liberia. And of course, I've been to Liberia several times, and I see the need looking at the mission of LCP, mainly to bridge the gap between classroom and career readiness. Very important that we strike that connection. And also being committed to equipping young Liberians with practical healthcare skills, medical technology knowledge, medical equipment maintenance, expertise, and vocational training that will meet the national and global standards. There are a lot of gaps that we have to fulfill in Liberia going forward. Liberia is a thriving nation in Africa. There's been some changes since the Civil War and also the Ebola crisis in Liberia. So things are happening, but they have to happen at a very fast rate for Liberia to catch up with the modern world. And the culture has to change in some ways going forward. How important it is to have healthcare and also have equipment that will support our patients going forward is important. There are three different pillars that I stand on that brings me closer to LCP, the Liberia Career Pathways. And those three pillars are basically education, one, healthcare, health, another, and agriculture. So I certainly support this organization so heartily to help bring about new changes in Liberia that, of course, because Liberia is facing shortages of trained healthcare support professionals and biomedical technicians. So we ought to have opportunities that will open the way for hospitals and clinics to be set up to move forward.
What I love about what you're sharing is that you're not only supporting students to have the opportunity to become economically successful, but you're also helping the healthcare system that at this point sounds pretty uneven and needs more support in terms of more professionals that are serving the community.
Absolutely. And I concur with you because there's a growing need, say, for vocational and technical education that will lead to directly employment or direct employment or entrepreneurship in Liberia. So my hope is that LCP, this particular organization, can make a way in Liberia for the growth of the intellect of the Liberian communities and also to bring about global economy as Liberia evolve into a nation that will support the students and also help build communities going forward.
What strikes me as interesting is you being a professor and supporting, the higher education, which I think is very important. But you must also know, and as I do, and I'm looking at that higher education role is changing. It's where is the best way to support higher education, and we're seeing that not all the higher degrees, as Kennedy mentioned in the first segment, prepare you for a career. And so it makes a challenge, and I'm delighted to see someone who's a professor also supporting vocational opportunities, because there's a place for both.
Yes, and I agree with you, Laurie. You made a very good point of what I'm trying to present here. Liberia's future depends on preparing young people in Liberia not just to graduate, but to be skilled, employable, innovative, and globally competitive. Liberia is a growing nation, and it is, you all know that it's the oldest independent nation in Africa. And of course, have stood up for all the other countries that are coming up in Africa. Liberia has been there. So career pathway, Liberia career pathways is sort of building that bridge between education and opportunity. And I think together we can empower learners and transform our workforce. The main issue is about empowering leaders,
Yes,
so that they have market-driven skills, and also to strengthen the connection between education and workforce development.
thank you so much, Dr. Wulu. You've really given us a lot to think about and to connect in terms of how do we look to the future, not only for Liberia, but for our own country as well. These are issues that we all face internationally and nationally. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Our next guest is Dr. Taylor, Dr. Henry Taylor. Thank you so much for joining with us today.
Oh, it's so great to be with you, Laurie and Rick and Judy and Kennedy and Dr. Wulu, everybody. It's a pleasure to be on the show, and particularly 950 Progressive Radio.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate the plug there.
Yep.
Now, you're a retired medical school professor, but your big passion is community education. And
Yes.
I'd love to have you share more about that and a recent trip that you had to Atlanta and how that made an impact on you.
Yeah, because I'm privileged to have a third generation, actually medical missionary. My grandparents went to India at the turn of the 19th century, and organized schools and education. And then my parents were missionaries, and then my father actually started the Department of International Health at Johns Hopkins, Carl Taylor, and focused really in, so my career was on social change.
And you followed in his footsteps at Johns Hopkins as well.
I did. I followed in his footsteps to become an internist and, get all the proper credentials. Mm-hmm. But then went out to the mountains in West Virginia to start a community health system, implementing community health workers, and towards the end of my practice there, moving into something that Rick had mentioned a little bit earlier on the show, the whole notion of relationship-centered care, that really people get healthy when we are in good relationship with ourselves and our families and our community and our environment and all of that. So it's been a fun journey. I've tried to teach it, and I'm working with Kennedy. He's just such a visionary and so energetic, and the other board members. I try and keep track of some of the books for the organization. Put in a plug that we're always looking for more money, and the links are on the website. But just trying to keep up with him has been kind of fun. But it's like anybody, Gandhi once said, he interrupted an interview and said, "I'm sorry. I see my followers going over there. I have to run to catch up to my followers."
I love that. I love that.
And we are so thankful for Dr. Taylor for the credibility he brings to what we do, the guardians, or the insights. You can be across the Atlantic on one side or another, but the experiences can be very similar. And sometimes the knowledge is not so wildly different, or the need are not so wildly different as the ocean that separates us. and he's really kept us
Dr.
grounded.
Wulu just made a really good point, and you picked up on it, Sandy, about the higher education and vocational education. I mean, education is such an important part of being healthy.
Yes.
And when we're healthy, we can learn. And it includes self-improvement and vocational. And we've been too siloed. What I love about this program is that it's really very comprehensive. It's a pathway. The pathway implies movement, and people are headed somewhere, but they also are coming from a past. In a country like Liberia or any place of social change, you have to start with what the needs are and fill it and build from success so that you can move forward together in partnership.
Well, I also resonate with your comment about the heart, and being able to relate with your heart is something that breaks boundaries. It's not just here nationally or internationally. It's what it means to be in humanity, and health. Part of what I believe is health is also having those connections that support you, and those connections that are strong and allow you to grow and be supported. And I love that about the pathway is that you're holding hands with these individuals to the point where they can then be launched into a career that's important for them as well as for their country.
And particularly when you're a young adolescent coming out of a chaotic world environment, that's all you've known of. Another project I've worked with is a project in Kabul, Afghanistan, where they teach children to juggle. People in war-torn areas need to know how to play.
Yeah.
So Liberia Career Pathways builds those connections and the human, what my mother called the human encounter, of how to learn about yourself and learn about others and build from success.
Well, thank you so much. Oh, one more question from Rick. Go ahead.
I was going to just give the website, but also note before I give the website for their organization, this is all resonating with different kinds of, you mentioned missionary work, I would say ministry, I would say sacred service. All of this is surrounding what you're doing. I have degrees in theology, but I never was ordained because I just want to do something else. But it's all sacred to me, and I'm hearing that sort of service from you, each of you. LiberiaCareerPathways.org is the website where you can go and see how you can make a difference to help them out.
And thank you, Dr. Taylor. Appreciate your input, your insights, and helping us understand on the human level what this provides. We now turn to Tim Beacon, who is the CEO of the Medical Aid International. Medical Aid International has a strong global track record of strengthening healthcare systems in low-resource settings by focusing on what many overlook, the functionality and sustainability of the medical equipment. Tell us more about your relationship, Tim, with the Career Pathways Program, the Liberia Career Pathways Program.
Well, yeah. So, from the word get-go, it's a real privilege to work with Kennedy and the team. And he contacted me probably about 18 months ago, I think, and we worked together on a strategic plan to develop healthcare services in Liberia. These things are holistic, so there's biomedical engineering, there's healthcare, the actual practical healthcare delivery systems at the front line in the hospitals. We looked at pre-hospital care as well. And looking at a kind of whole solution approach, and particularly in all of these discussions, we were working on the biomedical engineering side because, we've been doing biomedical engineering training globally for many years. We have immense experience in all of these areas, and having that ability to have biomedical engineering services is foundational to all healthcare sort of progress beyond that. So myself and Kennedy then went to Liberia about a year ago. We met with the president, had a fantastic meeting with the president, traveled around the country. In my work, when we're looking at developing sustainable, effective healthcare solutions that directly impact patient care, it's really important to, A, get out into the country important to meet people. I say see it, feel it, smell it. And it's incredibly important, Laurie, to have a really, really good partner on the ground. Mm-hmm. And with Kennedy and Liberia Career Pathways, we had that. We had the infrastructure to build capacity on the ground, both at a human level, a personal development level, if you like, and also at a practical, if you like, logistical level, all of which would bring in both employment and education. So, yeah, we had a fantastic visit, and it was such a joy to work with Kennedy and the team. And he really does have context. I mean, we saw the president, he presented to the president.
That must have been quite the experience.
Sandy, if I could jump in, one thing that really impressed me about Tim's program is it's not just a internet-based curriculum, but recognizing the situation in Liberia, the participants in the program actually are given a toolkit as part of it. So at the end of the program, Tim, if you could elaborate on that, it's really giving people the tools they need to get a job and build their own job.
Yeah, what's so important, there's so many facets to talk about, but let's just focusing on the education for a minute, the biomedical engineering training. So our online course has been used globally to incredible effect. It's an accredited City and Guild course, but as both in Liberia Career Pathways and myself, we so sing from the same hymn sheet, because it's about not just technical education, but it's about developing the individual, making them walk full, to have confidence, give them hope for the future, to quote a Bible phrase almost. And they've got to be effective. There's no point in knowing what's wrong if you can't fix it. There's enough bad equipment around anyway. So they get, as part of the program, the students all get a very comprehensive professional toolkit with military grade tools. They get 250 fuses. They get clothing, which obviously gives them confidence. They get textbooks. In this context with Kennedy, we give them some IT support as well. People have used this course in the jungle. It's available in English and French. It gets, that bit is fine. So it also, Laurie, the course has train the trainer in it. So it enables the engineers to teach. And that gives them real confidence when meeting other healthcare professionals. And our course is very heavily evaluated. When they finish the course, there's 350 multiple choice questions. There's 17 units, and they really have to work hard. We get lots of data back, and the trainer ability to teach others when they finish, even if it's just first aid. It's mind blowing. It has first aid in the course, and it's all based around the low resource environment, and the thing about this that's so exciting, and we've got this all mapped out and planned, and a place to run further training is when they do this course, you get students who have foundational knowledge. Us and others as trainers, we know they've got initiative, they're finishers, they've got academic ability, we know they're passionate, and we know what they know. So it acts as a kind of selection tool. So that as you start to do further training, whether it's webinars, whether it's on-the-ground training, and so on, everyone has, if you like, earned the right to be educated.
And they've got the foundation that you understand, and that
then
is relatable from person to person. It isn't a unique training. 100%. It's a standardization, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And Thames,
what's amazing.
Yeah. And I did a research thoroughly and found that Thames organization is the best fit for what we are doing in Liberia, because one of the challenges we have is the stability of electricity, and Thames will bring equipment that will function without electricity for several hours, and those are critical in neonatal units. Whether it be during childbirth or whether during C-section, you can't have electricity going out. And Tim has this kind of equipment. When we were there, We also talk about, how about people in rural areas? Thames entity has the capacity for us to be able to, use things like drones to bring medication to rural areas very quickly. So we are very excited to be partnering with Medical Aid International.
Well, I think thanks, Kennedy. And I think the one thing, because I know your time's limited, and I'm loving this whole interview, it's brilliant, the whole thing. Delivering healthcare solutions in these environments, everyone overcomplicates it. From really experienced doctors in really tough environments, the Western doctors, a lot of them, and African, like in the Congo, we have virtually eliminated maternal mortality by providing the right equipment. Doesn't have to be overcomplicated. We provide it with the biomed courses, so we've got technical support. Because a lot of problems with equipment that comes from America, of course, is on the wrong voltage. So it all blows up anyway if they've not put any sort of voltage regulator in. And there's so many facets to this. The tragedy is, Laurie, with all of this, is we have in Liberia Career Pathways the most insane opportunity to transform healthcare in Liberia across the board, educationally, to give jobs, give people health, and to provide and demonstrate a model that others can use. And the reality is, the harsh reality is, it's just about the funds. And because ultimately these things do cost money. Mm-hmm. Liberia Career Pathways, you've heard the quality of the board today. They are extraordinary. And at that, and we've tried to get them funds as well and failed, I might add. It's health system strengthening at its best, and I would absolutely smack it out of the park for patient care.
And with that, I will do another ask, because I do believe in the program that you all are part of. Your leadership is amazing, and you're doing wonderful things together in synergy that allows there to be both education as well as practical opportunities, and done with heart. The name of the organization, again, is Liberia Career Pathways, and that's also the website, liberiacareerpathways.org. On that website, you can make a donation, and it would be very well appreciated, and it would go a long ways to create the opportunities for the future and the support and economic stability, not only for Liberia, but for our international partnerships, which I think are very important as well. So please consider giving a donation. We'll be right back. I want to do a special thank you to our board guests. Thank you for all that you do. And I look forward to learning more about how the Liberia Career Pathways grows under your leadership.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh,
great to be on.
Great to have you. And we'll be right back after a few short commercials here on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota, on Connections Radio Show. Welcome back to Connections Radio Show. I'm Lori Fitz, your host, and our topic today has been Pathways for Change, and we've been learning about the Liberia Career Pathways. Rick Bernardo has been my co-host.
I'm still here.
Yes, you are, and we're glad that
enjoying and learning and feeling gratification for the work of these people that we have on today.
And we have Kennedy G, who's joining us along with a board member. He is invited to be on this segment. Kennedy is a multifaceted visionary. He's a global health professional and ordained minister dedicated to the socioeconomic transformation and, tell me more.
Human flourishing.
And people flourishing. Mm-hmm. Human flourishing in Liberia. But really, it's transformation of all Africa that you're looking for, isn't it? You really would like to have.
Right. Yeah. In fact, I wrote a book about that generational shift that we can, that we were created, and that if our minds shift to what God designed us to do, we can have a better world, and everyone can flourish.
Kennedy also has had a lot of high-level executive jobs. Right now, he's the executive director of the Liberia Career Pathways, which we've been talking about. And thank you for not only joining us, but bringing some great board members. It's been terrific to have that chance.
Yes.
But before we introduce our next board member, tell me a little bit about a program that you do in Atlanta, or
No, well, yeah. So with the biomedical technician training program we are doing is, so many people would know Liberia is a country that, the Black Americans, when they left from here, when, during the Emancipation Declaration, that's where they went to settle. Mm-hmm. So during the time when these Tuskegee institutions were going on in the U.S., they built an institution in Liberia called the Booker T. Washington Institute.
And I'm going to pause there for a second because some people don't know about the Tuskegee, and it was a bad thing. Right. Essentially, African Americans were used basically to test out what would happen if they didn't get treatment, and terrible things happened. Mm-hmm. But with that, there was tell me more about the program that was created in Liberia.
So during the time they were building the Tuskegee Institute, because of Liberia's historic relationship with the United States, they also built this vocational institution called Booker T. Washington Institute. It's a very renowned vocational institution. So we are partnering with them to ensure that this biomedical technician training program succeeds, so that it is not a standalone, but it is eventually we are going to get it started, we're going to get it funded, we're trying to get it funded with people's help, and then eventually the institution is going to take it up. We will still provide support, but this way it becomes part of Liberia's educational curriculum because it's a needful skill that is today still not taught in the schools. And it's very needful.
Yet another great partnership, a great connection to support the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Emily, we're so glad you're joining us. Emily Anderson is joining us. She is a board member. She's the Vice President and Municipal Services Manager at Half Engineering. Welcome, Emily. We're glad you're here.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. So Liberia's biomedical technician training program is quiet, but a powerful investment in the nation's future. Tell me more about that.
Yes. And just a little background on me. I've had the privilege of being associated with Liberia Career Pathways for almost 10 years now. When Kennedy invited me to be on the board, I am a native Liberian. I was actually raised in the U.S. With one of my sisters. We were adopted by an American missionary, but I have over 20 siblings that were left in Liberia and grew up in Liberia. And one of the reasons I joined the board was because it offered the opportunity that I had in the U.S. With access. It offered that for youth in Liberia that I didn't feel that my siblings had growing up. But this particular program it's really a game changer, I think, for Liberia, not just for youth and opportunities, but it gives them skills to keep critical medical equipment that is needed working. And it's something our health system needs. And so instead of relying on outside help, we're building capacity in the country, building capacity, educating youth, giving them valuable skills, and also, building a workforce for the future and able to, and advance the healthcare in the country as well.
Emily, I'm so glad that you're bringing the perspective of someone who is a Liberian. And I know that Kennedy, it has two board members, Dr. Vulu also Liberian. It's wonderful to hear the connection between the U.S. and Liberia and ways to work together. Tell me about your job and how that helps you be a partner in important ways for the Liberia Career Pathway program.
Sure. So I'm an engineer by training. I'm a civil and environmental engineer, and my background is water and wastewater training. And so one of the reasons I became a water engineer was because I wanted to be able to impact change specifically on the continent and other countries where lack of access to clean water and sanitation was an issue. It's been an issue in the past. It's going to continue to be an issue in the future. But it's an area that I see that we can help, starting with youth, in helping to build the future workforce and making sure that Liberia can compete at the level of other countries. But my background is in designing water and wastewater treatment plants. I'm now a vice president, and I oversee other parts of, work with our company, business development, client relationships. But I'm still a water engineer at heart. I'm passionate about water engineering. I did work with Engineers Without Borders in Cameroon And so I know that there are simple types of water systems. There's sanitation education. There are things that can be done in Liberia and other countries to help change that mindset, as Kennedy was just talking about, and help people realize that, the importance of clean water, sanitation, and also the fact that that's a pathway for careers as well.
My guess is that you have a story that has impacted you in doing this program. Would you be willing to share, what has most impacted you as you've worked with the Liberia Career Pathways?
I think it's having that connection. I came to the U.S. when I was 8 years old, but I am Liberian, and I will always be Liberian. And I think that it's being able to have that connection and being able to impact change and growth in the country that I call home. And, as I mentioned, it's being able to, I'm very successful, but I had all this opportunity. I lived in a country where, education is available freely. Everyone has the opportunity to different career paths here in this country. And I did not have a connection with my family, all of my childhood. But once I reconnected with them in college and I realized that that they didn't have the same opportunities, I was able to financially help my younger siblings get educated, but I can't do that for every child in the country. And so it was important to me to be part of an organization that could magnify my individual impact and reach the youth across the country. And so that's my personal connection and why Liberia Career Pathways as an organization is so personally important to me, but also to building capacity and educating youth in the country, because I'm really invested in the future of Liberia.
Emily, thank you so much for sharing your insights.
And Emily is a really, really great example for what we inspire in young people, especially for women. So Emily will, we will do a Zoom link, and Emily will talk to young women and our whole group, in fact, young people, because they say you can be what you see. You cannot be what you don't see.
Yes.
In a low education environment, sometimes people, as we talk about these career choices and profitable or marketable career choices, Emily become one outstanding example that, hey, look, here is a successful Liberian woman, although her story is a little different, but you can get there. And so Emily has been really involved, coming to the site. And when she's in Liberia, she went to Booker Washington Institute, everything to see. She zooms in to talk to our learners. And people get inspired. So with Emily, I got to tell you, I don't know if I'll share this with you, but we've had we have some of our learners who have chosen engineering because of your inspiration.
That's amazing.
That does not surprise me. I'm inspired. I've only had like 5 minutes with you. So, thank you for all that you do. And I have one last question because we only have a minute left, Kennedy. If you could look to the future, what do you see as opportunities for the Liberia Career Pathways?
Well, we want to stay involved, to continue to direct young people to the marketable careers, so that they are able to support their family. And the thing with health is connected with the economy. If you have healthy family, people are able to work.
Terrific.
And that's really great.
Terrific.
LiberiaCareerPathways.org. Go to that site and see what they're up to.
And consider making a donation to support this program. We appreciate you joining us today on our Connections radio show here on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.